What to my people is the 4th of July? My people who are failed every day by every country, sleepless in the long night, terrorized by fireworks, we who have cried salt baths for our kin. Look at all we have borne for you. Arms, armistice, the sweetest fruits, flesh of children, hidden away from the ugly summer of their own blood. We are on the front lines. Help me, tell me, what do we tell the children of your 4th of July? What is death to a daughter? What is river to a sea? Where is the country where my people are safe? Ancestors, set the table, send dream mares in high supply, too heavy, too spent, too hot to cook. No promise beyond the sparkly, simple bombs. Keep your holiday, your hunger, the blood in your teeth. Police parade down streets, proud descendants of the slave patrol, a theater of denial, a propaganda pageant, and we are on the front lines. All summer, my uncle can't sleep, and he was born free, and he ain't never been. We deserve a break. We deserve to laugh, talk shit, and scream. Every day I'm waiting for rain. Some indication that this land I'm set to die on will grow good enough to deserve me. Where is it, this country that deserves us? What do we name it? What is its 4th of July? How do I tell my children there is blue sky up there? Life threw a brick through my window of opportunity. How dare I tell my children there is free? This day should be quiet. Every head lowered into the pages of history. It was illegal for us to read, and then we read the laws. The laws were illegal. Turned horses into squad cars, hounds into warrants. What to us is your 4th of July? Halos and kinks of fire, a middle finger, an ugly foil, a rain, a joke, where we are the punchline. A lie. Until you make it otherwise.
And welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. It's a powerful, powerful video. We're going to bring on Barrington Salmon right now because the video is a powerful video, but it reminded me too. It also reminded me of a couple of things. One, another highly circulated video yesterday of Jill Scott singing a very different version of America's national anthem. And I don't know if you saw that or not, Barrington.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was it really caught a lot of folks' attention, and it pretty much sum it up. That video we just saw, the narration that we just heard, really summed up what Jill Scott was singing, using paraphrasing, I should say, the national anthem. She says, "Oh, say can you see by the blood in the streets that this place doesn't smile, or you colored child whose blood built this land with sweat in their hands, but you'll die in this place and your memory erased." She goes on to say, "This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slave."
Yep.
When you look at the decisions, and we're going to kind of go out of order this morning, but the video has sent us in this direction.
Yeah.
And Power 96 says he was at Essence when Jill did that. But and we're going to talk about Essence also in this program. Something really, really crazy. I don't know how else to define it, but we'll talk about that. A lawsuit that was filed by a Black-owned bookstore backed by Ben Crump. The lawsuit was backed by Ben Crump against Essence, and we'll tell you why and what happened there. But the point, Barrington, is that a long time ago, Greer mentioned that we're at war.
We've been at war. We've been at war. I always called it low intensity guerrilla warfare because it wasn't out and out. It was really subtle. And now it's broken out into a full-fledged war because everywhere that you turn now, these Christian nationalists, these white, I don't call them supremacists, these white, whatever, people that are trying to dominate, the ones who are afraid of black people,
Tariq Nasheed calls them race soldiers.
calls them race soldiers.
Soldiers, yes.
Okay, all right. I don't really give him much credit for anything because he comes with his own problems. But yeah,
Yeah.
well, they are very intent on starting some type of war against us, and it's so interesting because I think that this July 4th was the most reflective that I've had. I didn't do anything at all except write and spend time with my family and just contemplate that. And I've said it on this show, I say it all the time. I'm always quoting Dr. John Henry Clark that said black people have no friends. And they've made it clear. All of the people that always talked about what they would do if they were on the plantation, what they would do if they were confronted. Now is the time for us to see what we are going to do, because all of the elements of oppression, all of the elements of repression, all of the elements of erasure are on full display. And these SOBs don't sleep finding ways to mess with black people.
Well, it goes to the point, we had Juneteenth. Now, all these holidays really has come down to this. It's a day off, but it's not a day off from all of what is going on.
Yeah.
It's constant. It's
Mhm.
it's a day off from work, yes, but it's constant. Something's happening every day that reminds us that, as you guys have declared, we're at war.
Yeah. The thing is that I don't know, maybe we've been conditioned, maybe just by virtue of the fact that we're in hostile territory most times. The fact of the matter is we can't take a break from this, because while we rest, they're not sleeping. The Ron DeSantis's, the Alitos, the clowns like Clarence Thomas, all of them are using instruments of law, of policy, to erect defense
Mhm. Mhm.
around and against black people primarily. The thing that I always just kind of shake my head at is that African Americans have always been the canary in the coal mine. And for some reason, after all this time, folks don't understand that when they come after us first, they're coming after them later. So it is almost comical to me to listen to people on different talk shows or news programs expressing surprise, the LGBTQ people expressing surprise, Asians expressing surprise, Latinos, well, Native Americans always knew,
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
too have been the canaries in the coal mine. But when they're coming after us, they're not just coming after us alone. And it was very clear last year when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The concurrent this opinion by Clarence Thomas was that, well, why don't we go back and reconsider everything? And he
Mhm.
talked about privacy. He talked about same-sex marriage,
He-
and someone else talked about interracial marriage, because Clarence wasn't going to bring that up because he's married to a white woman.
Mhm.
But they the thing about it is the brazenness. They are telling us what they're doing, and they're doing it.
Mhm. Well, I tell you, so we had the Supreme Court decision and on affirmative action. So here's the interesting thing, and we talked about this last week. We had the pleasure when we were in Tennessee to have A. Scott Bolden, the NMPA's in-house counsel, on, and we talked about it. Even Mike Make It Plain Thompson talked about okay, so what about this? And this what about has happened. The civil rights group is challenging legacy admissions at Harvard University,
Yeah,
saying
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
practice discriminates against students of color by giving an unfair boost to the mostly white children of alumni. The practice of giving priority to the children of alumni has faced growing pushback in the wake of that decision last week. And so the NAACP has been added to this suit as well. They're asking more than 1,500 colleges and universities to even the playing field, Barrington, in admissions, including by ending legacy admissions. So this is going to work its way through the courts.
And and it
Ultimately,
and it could still end up in the Supreme Court, and them sons of you know what's would throw it out. That's
but
that's a
but
that's a
don't you
problem.
have to? But as attorney Scott Bolden, A. Scott Bolden said, and also Robert Tarver mentioned, Attorney Tarver in Jersey mentioned
Mm.
this. It's something called precedent. So the court must abide by that,
No,
right?
no, but if the court was abiding by precedent, they wouldn't have overturned Roe v. Wade or overturned the affirmative action. So I don't understand that type of thinking. They have shown they don't give a damn about precedent. They don't care about stare decisis. They're not interested. The funny thing for me is that for years conservatives always used to give judges grief, saying that judges shouldn't be activists, that they should just strictly interpret the law. And now that they have the majority, they're doing what they always criticized.
Well, why are we? Here's what the NAACP said in statement: why are we rewarding children for privileges and advantages accrued by prior generation? Your family's last name and the size of your bank account are not a measure of merit and should have no bearing on the college admissions process.
What is it? What we should be concerned about? And for people, folks I interviewed for some affirmative action stories last week, is that in the 9 states that have struck affirmative action from their state constitutions, the the numbers and the rate of African Americans and Latinos going to these institutions has dipped precipitously.
So this Associated Press survey, just to go along with this commentary, Barrington
Mm.
found that a survey. It was a survey of the nation's most selective colleges. It found that legacy students in freshman class range from up to 4% to 23% at 4 schools: Notre Dame, USC, Cornell, and Dartmouth. Legacy students outnumbered Black students.
Wow. Yeah.
It just it shows you, is it what's good for the goose?
Yeah. But I think that one of the things that we have to do is to find ways. I mean, I love the fact that this came so quickly after the ruling.
Hmm.
Um, I've talked to a couple of attorneys and some other folks who are saying that, like, I spoke to an attorney who said that this doesn't even that the law doesn't really ban affirmative action, and he was giving me some reasons why that isn't the case. But the fact of the matter is that we have to be smart, we have to be innovative, and we have to fight like hell.
Hmm.
And understanding that if our case gets to the Supreme Court, it may not have the outcome that we desire.
Yeah. Well, Claudia Perry writes in, "What would you expect? Harvard was endowed by a slave owner."
Yeah.
One of our newer viewers who goes by the handle of Escape from Alcatraz says that, "I don't think the U.S. government has plans to go after other groups like they have for Black people specifically. We are the target and always have been. They have replaced us with others since the abolishment of slavery in the 19th century, bringing degenerate, undereducated, dangerous white immigrants and put them on a pedestal over blacks. Nothing has changed. Sounds like he's a friend of yours. Parenting.
No. Well, the thing that you can criticize who they bring in, but I would never call them degenerate, because that is that's a type of term that prick that used to be the president used to always say. He said that the Mexicans were criminals and all that stuff, and that's not true. It's the immigrants who are criminals are a minuscule amount of the good, hardworking people who are looking for an opportunity when they come to the United States. And yes, the it, it competitively, it has been an issue. It is a concern for African Americans, for the numbers of for because what this and at the end of the day, what is really happening is that the political elite and the wealthy, they are always finding wedges to put between us. We spend more time fighting each other than fighting the ones who are the ones that have created this reality and who have put us in this situation. So
escape.
and
Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm
no, I was
sorry.
just going to say that what we really should be doing is thinking about people like Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton was assassinated because he had the skill of bringing together white people from Appalachia, Latinos, and Black people. He was building a coalition that scared the hell out of them white boys in Chicago and in the FBI, and that's why they killed him. And so what we have to always be doing is finding ways to form alliances, to break down the barriers that are separating us, and understand that what is happening to white people in this country, working class, middle class white people, is happening. What's happening to Latinos, and it's happening to Black people as well. But they use race as a very effective wedge, and people begin to think that, well, my concerns are different from Black people, but we all have the same concerns.
Yeah, Escape from Alcatraz is saying that they were referring to Italian, Irish, and Jewish mafia is what they were referring to when they said degenerates. But here's something else. Power 96 brings this up, and I'm seeing a lot of this the last few days on social media and other places. Power 96 says this: let those 4- and 5-star Black athletes start attending HBCU.
We got to do that. It's funny because I have a really good friend, Leo Alexander, and we always have these really spicy conversations and debates and arguments and stuff. And the thing is that the best way to hurt these people is to take all their goddamn money. And if this is how they want to roll, we need to punish them, bruh.
I wonder if Deion Sanders now kind of wants to walk back his decision.
No. Because listen, Stacy, understand that the fabric of this country is money.
Right.
He did it because I think they said he got like $5 million a year to be coach. Yes, he by going to Jackson State, he put the focus on HBCUs. I would have preferred if he had stayed committed and helped move Jackson State and HBCUs forward. He made a choice, but in my mind, he's now a template that other athletes, other coaches should be using. I would love, but here's the thing. Even if most athletes went to HBCUs, they do not have the infrastructure. They do not have the money to bring in to take in all of these students. So it becomes incumbent on the alumni and other folks. I continue to argue that with the 1.234 trillion dollars of disposable income that Black people make in this country, we have to begin to prioritize how to use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Historically, the federal government and the states have underfunded HBCUs. So that means that we're going to have to step in. All of these business people, these business owners, the former alumni, we can't depend on athletes and entertainers. And
Isn't
most
it?
of them don't have the consciousness anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say, with again going back to this thought of being at war, and this thought, well, not just a thought, but this actions being taken by the powers that be, Supreme Court, politicians, all of the powers that be. Isn't
Mm.
Are we headed to a situation where you're going to force Black people to finally say, you know what, we better turn the clock back ourselves and go back to community, even though as you mentioned, the athletes, the entertainers, all of them, because back in the civil rights movement, you had big time entertainers, Sidney Poitier,
Yeah, Harry
Harry
Belafonte,
Belafonte. Yeah, they
Aretha
Franklin.
Franklin. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Are we headed back there by necessity?
I I I think that uh, my personal opinion is yes, and my personal opinion is good. We need to, but that's a conversation that we need to have, because I have been just in the course of my reading and study. In 1967, my Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King wrote a book, Chaos or Community, where he said that he really struggled with the idea that he was bringing Black people into a burning building. That was 1967,
Mhm,
bruh, right?
mhm.
We're in 2023, and almost all of the same issues that Reverend King, that Stokely Carmichael, that Ella Baker, that Fannie Lou Hamer, all of these issues that they were fighting against, Frank Smith, Marion Barry, all of the issues that almost all of the issues that they were fighting against, we're still fighting
Yeah, yeah.
in one form or the other. Because as Coretta Scott King said, every generation has to fight for their freedom.
Yeah.
So this is us. This is our time.
Jacqueline Davis Norris says community, yes, and a little bit of a beef going on YouTube between Timothy Williams and Power 96. Timothy said Dion didn't sell out; he took a higher paying job, and Power 96 counters by saying Colorado had $5 million before Dion took the JSU job. Yes, Dion sold out to Lily White, Colorado. I want to also highlight this because we're going to go into this topic. I love it. Mike V says the decision is more of a warning shot to the DEI initiatives that all these private institutions made after George Floyd, with companies pledging billions in response to the lack of Black diversity. And now, having said that, Mike V, that is a perfect segue into this. 3 studios and the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences laid off or lost top diversity executives in the past few days, which gave the impression that the industry is placing DE&I on the back burner. The drive for diversity that picked up prominence with George Floyd is now gone. It's gone.
But Stacy, it's what is interesting to me is that for the 400 years that Africans have been in this country, America has never been able to figure. It's always been a conundrum for them, for white people, because they've never seriously contemplated making the space for Black people to be regular citizens, to do and have all the things that other people in this country have. I am just amused that we watch on TV or on a video some white boy kill George Floyd, kneel in his neck for 9 minutes, more than 9 minutes, kill him, billions are given by
pledged.
pledged by white businesses and blah 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 blah. And I'm reading all these stories now where they're saying that people are just tired of having to deal with black people, to deal with black issues, to have to deal with racism, to have to deal with DEI.
Well, here's a solution.
Mhm.
Here's a solution. You don't have to deal with it. Fix it permanently.
Bruh, why would they fix it?
Well,
They're getting the benefits of the powers, perk, and privilege. They're not gonna fix it. It's not
Right.
in. Listen.
Right.
I
agree.
If white cops were kicking the hell out of white people the way that they've been doing to black people, it would stop tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's not in it. Listen, man, please.
There was a someone had wrote that and did a whole lineup of all of the of course the Jewish folks with the Holocaust, the Asian hate. I mean, it was a whole line of what they gave to what America gave to all of these groups, and it got down to African Americans, and next to African Americans, the figure was 0.
Yeah. We have to understand that it is not in the benefit of this country. And I argue that much of what we see in terms of how they're dealing with us is because of the competition that the competitive threat that black people present to white people certain white people in this country.
A bird just flew into my window and died.
Is it dead? It might not be dead. It might be just unconscious. Yeah. So it's competition. I'm convinced that the 60% of the black of the 2.3 million people who are in prisons and jails are there because they are no longer a competitive threat job wise.
Yeah. Well,
the doors that are closed to access is because they're afraid of the competition that they're going to get from black people. So we need to realize that.
Well, that picture you keep seeing that we have up there, Disney's chief diversity officer and senior vice president, Latondra Newton, a 6-year veteran, was the first to go on June the 20th. The company said that Newton was leaving to pursue quote unquote other endeavors. Particularly, her exit was celebrated by a faction of people who blamed her for the Little Mermaid's woke casting of black actress and singer Halle Bailey. Also, right after the Supreme Court's announcement, Verna Myers, Netflix head of inclusion strategy, announced she's stepping down. She was the first person to serve in that role, that DE&I role. And then Warner Brothers saw their DEI. They had actually a double departure. Senior Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Karen Horn, and the Academy parted ways with EVP of Impact and Inclusion, Janelle English. So
it's going to continue. It's going to continue.
Right away.
It's going to continue. But that to me is like whenever you see layoffs, most times in most companies, the first to go are people in communications and public relations because they don't think they need them. They don't think that, I mean, this is a white backlash, the expected white backlash against any progress that black people make in this country. All we got to do is go back and look. Every time, Tulsa, right? And all of the other Tulsas that these white people destroyed. I think we talked about it last week. They're always talking garbage about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and us being lazy and not doing what is necessary. And you do every goddamn thing that needs to be done. And then they still do this. They destroy everything that we have because they think we're not supposed to have anything. So that to me necessitates us to begin to look seriously again at resegregating.
Yeah, so it goes I guess that's what I'm trying to say too. It goes back to the point of not being wedded to these institutions, not being wedded to even a job, be more wedded to community. That's how
Yeah,
it used to be.
but here's the thing, Stace. If one of the things that we can't ignore are the psychological aspects of this whole thing,
Oh yeah.
because I can't tell you how many people I talk to who are like, ah, but I can't lose my job. I can't lose my job. And it's like, yeah, but I get up in the morning, every morning, for every job that I have, expecting that I could get a call, and I have gotten some calls saying,
Hmm.
we no longer need you,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? This is, one of my best friends lost his job after, I think he had been there for like 15 years or something. And I had to bring him down off of the ledge.
Gosh, yeah.
It was crazy. And I was like, bruh, we can't wed ourselves to a job. We can't have our view of ourselves, our status of ourselves linked to no damn job, because it's not our job.
Hmm.
The people who are in control can take the job anytime. And one of the things for me, I think one of the most freeing things for me was coming to that realization,
Hmm.
because I bring a certain skill set to my job. And I tell people all the time, if you decide that you don't want me, we cool,
Hmm.
because I'm going to eat. I'm
Yeah.
going to take my services somewhere else and get the things I need to take care of myself and my family.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also it's so important. While we say all that, we can't overlook how important it is that we give our you say 8 hours. If you have an 8-hour job, you give your employer 8 hours,
Yeah.
right? You don't give them anything less. You don't give them anything more, right?
Well, listen, you theoretically that sounds good, but
Hmm.
as a journalist, as you
Well, we're
know,
in a different, yeah, we're in
we're
a
in a
different
whole
field.
different sphere.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I always tell, like for instance, Denise Roloff Barnes will say, you know, how do you do it, and why do you do it, and
Why do you do it?
how, yeah, how and why, and what, well, not necessarily why, but what keeps you going, and all this that we're talking about is a something that keeps me going. Also, I always tell I always tell the story. Look, you know the story of Wally Pipp, right?
No.
Yeah, Wally Pipp was the first baseman for the New York Yankees at one point. He was a really good player,
Yeah.
right? And then he got hurt one day. He had to take off. He
Yeah.
couldn't play. And a
Yeah.
guy named Lou Gehrig replaced him.
And
Lou Gehrig,
2,300 games later.
exactly. And so that became known. Anytime you get, yeah, anytime somebody comes in and swoops in and takes your job, you've been Wally pipped.
Oh
So
wow.
I am I will work not to be Wally pipped.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what I always tell Denise. But I wanted to also highlight something Claudette Perry said to Barrington, because I want you to comment on this too. She
Mm.
says, I believe it is something even more natural. She says, Blacks are genetically the most superior. It is an unconscious matter of human survival for them. The first law of nature is survival.
I agree. I agree. And that is what they're so afraid of. But on the converse side, psychologically, so many of us don't believe that, because until I die, I'm going to be talking about the importance of us realizing and embracing and absorbing the value, our value.
Mm-hmm.
My
We,
value does not come from somebody's validation from someone outside. My validation doesn't come from a job. My validation doesn't come from the car I drive. We have to get back to the point where we understand what Miss Perry is talking about, where we completely absorb and embrace the idea that we are naturally superior
yeah.
and act that way, move that way. strategize that way. We are too reactive. We're always sitting down waiting for them to do stuff and then we're reacting. We need to be like them. Yo, when I was 6 years old, I was taught this thing. The heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards through the night. We can't sleep.
Yeah.
Bruh, we
Well,
can't sleep because this is life or death for us, Stacy.
yeah, and it goes along with what you were saying and what Greer sent a note asking if we've seen that video. Many probably have seen it by now.
I saw it.
The office, they were and they're senior citizens too, by the way. These are black.
I know.
They were falsely accused of shoplifting, and the wife was taping them handcuff her husband.
And that piece of shit threw her down and had his knee in her neck.
Well, did he tase her or pepper
He
spray
tased her too. He pepper sprayed. No. He pepper sprayed her, claiming that she was resisting.
Yeah,
and they gave them desk duty.
Yeah, so it shows you too. We hear about the young ones. It doesn't matter if
it doesn't
young
matter.
or
It's
old.
a system. It's a system, Stacy. It's
Yeah.
a system.
Yeah, and there's the
and these white boys thinking that they have the right to do what they want to black people.
Yeah, I mean, how do you this is an officer who is throwing first of all, she's a lady and a senior citizen. And this is how you handle her?
They've been doing it. They've been doing it to our women.
Filming?
They've been doing it to our children. They've been doing it to our men. They don't care, bruh. And that's why I said burn it down. Burn all of it down. It cannot be reformed. It cannot be changed.
Yeah, it's Well, here's the other thing too. So when we talk about community and sticking together, Essence has something to learn, or perhaps they did learn a lesson, because Essence Festival of Culture featured the likes of course, Vice President Kamala Harris, Oprah Winfrey was there, Megan Thee Stallion. Yet the drama surrounding Essence Fest's lawsuit against a Black-owned New Orleans bookstore dominated the national headlines and social media discourse. They filed legal documents against Baldwin and Company Bookstore, claiming that the owner and promoter, Tamika Newhouse, have wrongly used the Essence Fest brand name to promote its event, highlighting prominent Black authors and celebrities. Yeah, but Essence finally, after the outcry and after Ben Crump, the attorney Ben Crump, tweeted out his disapproval of it, they finally dropped the lawsuit. It was a cease and desist. This is a Black bookstore, and Power 96 says he lives not far from there. They simply noted that this is what they will be doing during Essence Fest. And Essence sued to block them. And even Gary Chambers came out and blasted Essence. He wrote in a statement today, it was disappointed to witness Essence and Essence Fest filed documents to shut down an event put on by Black business owners. The business owners and the New Orleans bookstore lost money and time. The president of the city council in New Orleans issued a statement to make it clear that it was never the intent of the ordinance Essence attempted to use to harm private-owned businesses and events from operating. And Gary Chambers goes on to say, for me, it does no good to say we are going to celebrate Black culture while harming Black businesses in the city you're coming to do business. If Essence is for the culture, the people who make up that culture should be able to reap from the harvest. It is my hope that leadership will show the excellence we see in presentation in all aspects concerning our people. This was really an ill-conceived move by Essence.
But that's what you have when you start believing that you're part of the dominant culture. Because none of it makes any sense. And it makes me think that Essence probably thinks that it's like some mob family that's supposed to get a piece of the action if the bookstore wants to use it. It's foolishness. And you're very nice. You said ill-conceived. I could think of some other adjectives that I will not utter. but ill-conceived is the least of it.
Yeah. Well, and it's not over because after Essence rescinded their lawsuit, Barrington, the owners of Baldwin and Company said that they will continue to fight to clear their name.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so in other words, they lost money and they lost time because they was shut down because of
yeah,
Essence's suit.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it makes
Mm.
it's sad to see because Essence is one of those brands in which, of course, we mentioned. Look at the Essence Fest, everyone talks about the Essence. It's the most talked about, one of the most
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about things of the year, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
in the
yeah.
Black community, it is probably the most talked about,
Is
right?
Essence Black owned still?
I asked that question of someone, and I think the answer I got was yes.
Oh, okay.
Um, but the problem is, we can't. As this bookstore, Barrington, do you
Mm.
believe that this bookstore event was going to detract from Essence? Is sold out months and months, a year in advance,
Yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and its events are sold out, and
Greed, 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 bruh.
yeah, you just stuff like that is what needs to stop as well. We talk about the other things that the other people do. Well, some
Oh, we have a lot of work to do to clean up our spaces, bruh. Because usually we are quick to denigrate ourselves. We're quick to beat down those that look like us, and a part of it, I mean, we have to hold ourselves accountable.
Power 96 says Essence averages 176,000 people a day. Wow,
Yeah,
that's pretty incredible.
that's a lot of people,
That's
and a lot of money.
a whole lot of
So
money.
they're just greedy, man.
You think about that. 176,000 people a day. Even if you charge them $1, that's $176,000 a day.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's far more than
it's
$1,
a whole
right?
lot more than that. And but if you think about the whole idea of compounding and multiplicity of the event, um, hotels, eating establishments, and a number of different businesses are benefiting every time that Essence comes to whatever city it's
Right.
going to.
Well,
So
it's New
the whole
Orleans.
idea is supposed to be a ripple effect of money coursing through the community. So this ill-advised lawsuit by Essence, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It's a bad look, to say the least.
And what we should be doing as journalists is banging the hell out of them even after the event, just to give them grief, to let them understand that there are consequences for garbage behavior.
And that is garbage behavior. I couldn't agree more. Barrington, so let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Who is getting high at the White House?
Getting high?
Yes.
Probably Joe.
Don't blame the president. He wasn't in
No, no,
town. They
no, no,
found
no, no. But listen, because and I'm being sarcastic because I I I saw I've been seeing all these comments from people, and I'm like, what is wrong with you all? It's like they've lost their mind.
they found cocaine in the West Wing on Sunday evening
Yeah, yeah.
at the White House, and first it was reported as a suspicious white powdery substance.
Substance.
Then they tested it. It was the DC Fire Department, I believe, who leaked where unintentionally leaked where
How
the
you know it's unintentional?
well, we don't want to put that on
Yeah, whatever, whatever.
them. But they disclosed, okay, where the powder was found, the cocaine was found. It was in a common area of the West Wing at first, is what they were saying.
So it could be
And
anybody.
yeah, well, no, they said it was a library,
It
and the
could be
library
anybody.
is only accessed by certain individuals.
Whatever. This is, as far as I'm concerned, it's a non-news story.
But what is cocaine doing in the White House, Barrington?
Oh, please, Stacy.
Enlighten me.
Oh God. The United States, the United States, the United States, the population of the United States is 1/5 of the globe's population.
Yep.
And they consume 25% of all the drugs produced in the world. Right? I have a colleague. He and I used to work together at in the mayor's office in Mayor Barry with Mayor Barry.
Yep.
And we talked about the police response to people using cocaine. He a white dude, and he said that he and his friends use more cocaine than probably all of the black people in this country. And they were never
Well,
stopped. They were never stopped by a cop. They were never hassled. The cops are going to Southeast and to black areas to roust black people. If you read the stories and talk to people on Wall Street, they were snorting more cocaine and using more drugs than people in
absolutely.
Harlem.
Well, and
That's the way it's always been.
Well, we know about the sentencing disparities. They intentionally made sentences for crack much
10 times,
harsher
10 times harsher. Yeah.
than cocaine, because, like you said, Wall Street was using it, corporate America, big wigs.
Yeah.
And so Mike V says, "Be glad it's cocaine and not fentanyl taking people out from the inside."
But Mike V, it could be cocaine laced with fentanyl. We don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
Because they're lacing fentanyl, all these drugs with fentanyl. So for me, it's like taking the drug is a risk. And it's an added risk with this whole fentanyl thing. Because I have seen folks on DC streets strung out on K2 and PCP and all these drugs. It ain't pretty.
You know that you know what's going to happen here, right? You know that the Republicans and Rupert Murdoch's companies are going to somehow try and tie it to Hunter Biden.
Of course they are.
And that's
but they you know, those of them living in glass houses should go check out their families and the people that they roll with, because they know, man, please, it's just a whole bunch of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Because Congress people are on drugs, business people are on drugs. I mean, somebody's consuming all this stuff, and it's not just black people. And it's not just Latinos, and it's not just, you know.
So Robert De Niro's grandson, it was fentanyl that Robert De Niro's grandson died of. Bought some oils laced with fentanyl. Is what we're seeing.
See?
Yeah, and how, you know, how terrible is that? Robert De Niro,
and he was only 19.
He was just 19, and De Niro is his girlfriend.
No, his ex. I think she's ex-wife.
No, what I'm saying is they're expecting a child. He's expecting a baby.
Oh yeah.
And so fentanyl is, goodness grief.
Fentanyl is the new scourge, because they said the majority of drug overdoses in the past year is because of fentanyl.
Fentanyl, yeah. Wow.
And thus far, criminal justice elements and the health medical people, they're not able, they can't get a handle on it, because it's so many different people who are falling victim to this.
Yeah. So what do you do about it? How you can't, it hasn't worked to tell people, please just don't do drugs. That doesn't work.
I think we have to look at the reasons why people are taking drugs. I don't think that we've ever really, and listen, man, please. All the years that black people were, now Ronald Reagan and the CIA dropped all this cocaine in Crenshaw, those other black communities in California, beginning there, and it moved across the country. They didn't do nothing. They didn't do anything because for some strange reason they thought it wasn't going to affect black people. Fentanyl is now white people's crack cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do anything to cater to help black people, and now the beast has come and is devouring their children.
Well, Timothy Williams says the GOP wants it to be called poison instead of overdosed. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
No, because they're always trying to sanitize white people
Right.
getting caught up in drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So
And Mike V,
that's understandable.
Mike V makes a point too, Barrington. We're talking about this cocaine being found at the White House.
Yeah.
But Mike V says, well, Congress, this Freedom Caucus folks has been bringing in firearms into the Capitol, and
Yeah.
that's gone pretty much without coverage in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Because we remember the celebration of Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and those folks, you know, celebrating the fact that they took
That they
down the
brought
metal
guns.
detectors
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
were able to. Wow.
Yeah, it's a sordid mess, bruh. And it's not as simple as it looks on its face. And I am a very firm believer in karma, because all of them Republicans that put all of those black people in prison, they never when advocates and activists in black communities were telling them that you can't criminalize drug addiction, they told them to go to hell, and they put all those folks in prison. Right? Now it's their turn.
David Youngblood says for us it was a crime issue, and now
Yeah.
it's a health issue.
Now it's a health issue. Yeah. So every time, I told you, canary in the coal mine, everything that happens to us, they I don't know if they make it seem as if there's a wall between them and black people, that everything that's happening to us ain't gonna happen to them. And invariably, what begins on us, with us, seeps over into the white community. And I'm saying all that to say that they need to stop being so goddamn racist and deal with us as human beings, and understand that what affects us is gonna eventually affect them. So it is in their best interest to deal with the issues that we're dealing with, so that they don't have to deal with them at a later date.
You know, no truer words have been spoken, because you think about all of the. I don't know if you experienced this when you were going to school, Barrington, but I know a lot of my peers experienced this. Metal detectors in their schools, mostly black schools, right? And then we didn't have the school shootings and the massacres then when you and I were in high school. But we still
I
had.
missed all that. I didn't. When I went to high school, I wasn't. I'm like
Right.
Moses. I'm like Moses. We didn't have metal detectors in our schools and that type of stuff.
Right. So we did, and there were no
Mhm.
they were checking for like knives and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But so now you don't have the metal detectors, and now you have, in their schools. So what I'm saying is, it is happening in predominantly white schools, these massacres.
Yeah. And if you look at the fentanyl epidemic, they're talking. When you go to places like Maine and Vermont, which is predominantly white, it is devastating what's
Mhm.
happening there. And
Yeah.
they always seem to. They don't seem. They're always trying. The narrative is always that crime is black and that whites are innocent. But if you go to, I've been reading stories and looking at videos of the devastation that fentanyl is causing in the cities in Vermont, in Maine, and Massachusetts, and those places. It's all white people.
Mm-hmm.
Significantly higher numbers now of black people are getting addicted, but the majority is white people, and they're at a loss because they don't know what to do.
I like Jacqueline Davis Norris using a quote from Desmond Tutu here. She quotes him saying, "There comes a point where we need to stop just pulling people out of the river. we need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what's interesting too? I just thought about this, Stacy. I think it is in the interest of the US government and other entities for this to happen, because nobody can tell me that you can send someone to the moon, that you can do all of the type of scientific achievements that we have had, and you can't fix this. So and in a capitalist country like this, we need to follow the money and see who's making the money off of this, because it is clear from COVID and other things that they don't care if we die.
Yeah.
And we being all Americans, because more than 1 million people died in COVID, and Trump didn't do much while he was in office. They don't care.
Yeah.
And the quicker all of us, the quicker all Americans realize that these people that pretending to be caring and catering to us, they don't care.
Well, again, Jacqueline Davis Norris says they don't want to fix it because it works for the 1%.
Yeah. But it's coming. It's coming for the 1% too, because their children aren't immune.
Yeah. Well, and that's been the point, right? Exactly.
Their children aren't immune.
Yeah. Well, Barrington, we before we close this morning, want to congratulate. We just got back from our the National Newspaper Publishers Association's convention in Nashville. Beautiful, wonderful convention. New board led by Bobby Henry, the publisher of the West Side Gazette in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He earned election as chair of the new national chair of the National Newspaper Publishers Association.
Go, Bobby. Go, Bobby.
Bobby has he's taken the reins there. Also, we should shout out Dr. Frances Draper, publisher of the Afro American in Baltimore and Washington, of course. She's going to serve as first vice chair. Jackie Hampton, publisher of the Mississippi Link, will serve as second vice chair. Fran Farah, the publisher of the County News in Charlotte, North Carolina, was elected secretary. And Cheryl Smith, publisher of the Texas Metro News and CEO of iMessenger Media, will serve as treasurer. Denise Rolock Barnes of the Washington Informant and Walter L. White of the Cincinnati Herald will serve as at-large board members.
Congratulations, all.
Yeah, and also for the NMPA's fund, Karen Carter Richards will move over to the fund. She was, of course, the outgoing chair of the NMPA. She is going to serve on that board, as well as Brenda Andrews of the New Journal and Guide in Norfolk, Virginia, Ken Miller of Inglewood Today in California, Rod Doss of the New Pittsburgh Courier, Carl Anderson of the New Tri-State Defender, and Sonny Messiah Giles of the Defender Network in Houston. All have been elected as members of the NMPA Fund Board, the nonprofit division of the NMPA. So congratulations to Bobby Henry and all of the board members. Yeah. So we'll see. The future looks bright for the Black press of America, and so we'll continue to push forward. As Bobby says, it's a team. Bobby gave out these hats, Barrington, and said team, NMPA team.
So, of course, he gave out a hat. He's a good example of sartorial splendor. He's always looking sharper than a razor, man.
Tell me about it. That's Bobby Henry for you. the new chair of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Again, congratulations to all. And thanks a lot, Barrington. As always, it's good to see you. It's good to see Mimi. I see she made her
Good morning. Congratulations, Bobby Henry.
Congratulations, Bobby Henry. There you go. And thank you, Jacqueline Davis Norris. She says she's encouraged by this broadcast and the NMPA. She says we need to develop a common consciousness for our people. She's sharing this and urging all her people to subscribe. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Let It Be Known YouTube channel, and also share the broadcast with others. We appreciate it. And thank you all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, brother.